We're getting pretty close to firing the engine now that the engine's installed. We're really moving on to other parts of the project, getting the suspension installed, the brakes, final fitment of the interior, and then the car goes to the body shop. So it's, we're really starting to see the finish line here, and it's pretty exciting. We'll be able to drive this thing pretty soon.
Really starting to see everything come together now. A lot of those challenges that we were facing before are finally past, and we're finally focusing on getting this thing running now, which is really great.
Now it's up to Brew. I mean, I'm gonna start putting the pressure on Brew because I don't wanna wait. I'm trying to push to get this thing fired up by the end of the week. Brew, are you ready?
All right, I think we're ready. Oh, didn't like it.
Hold on.
Let me try again here. I sputtered for a second. Ooh, there we go. Nice.
I'd like to say that turning the car on was this amazing, eventful moment, and it was. I was expecting at least like a hose to fly off that we forgot, or a little smoke here, or some noises there, or whatever, but it didn't. It sounded just like I was starting my street car up. When you're doing a big project like this, you expect the worst and hope for the best, I guess. It's awesome. Car started right up, and it was uneventful. And the next thing, I just wanted to push it off the lift so we could go for a ride.
Fired it up, and it actually ran really well. We had to change a couple parameters in order to get it to idle well, but once we fixed those settings in the software, this thing idles and just purrs. I can't wait to actually hear this thing in anger, with some throttle. We started the engine for the first time, got the engine running great on the base map, but the clutch would not properly disengage and re-engage. I knew at that point that we were going to have to pull the transmission out to really see what was going on. It did not come out very easily. I ended up having to take the front subframe completely out of the car, remove the driver's side header, and all of that just to get barely enough room to get the transmission down and out of the car. In the end, we found out it was a $20 part. It is a clutch fork. This is the part that actually gets pushed on by the slave cylinder and disengages the clutch. The problem is it was actually too tight on the throwout bearing, and that was causing the creaking noise, and then actually at full disengagement of the clutch, it was sticking. It caused a huge headache for us, at least 4 days worth of work to get this out and replace it. As soon as this is done, we'll be ready to drive this thing.
So the E46 M3 came factory with a floating caliper and a basic brake disc. In its day, it was fine. It worked really well. It's not a very heavy car. It did its job. For this build, with all the added power and all the modification, we really needed a brake kit that could stand up to the challenge. We needed a brake kit that would fit the project and really match well with such a unique and cool build. The Brembo GTS kit is perfect for that. You have the floating two-piece rotor, which is race-inspired, straight from the racetrack, and then you have a monoblock caliper 6-piston, which is also something that you find on the racetrack. Brembo put this kit together to be streetable as well as to stand up to the task on track. So it's kind of the perfect combination of every day driving down the street to work and having to hit the brakes really hard to avoid a squirrel, or going to the track and putting 20, 30, 40 laps in and not having any brake fade or any brake issues. We chose the Pilot Sport Cup 2 Track Connect. The Track Connect is a brand new, pretty exciting technology from Michelin. As I had mentioned before, we've been working with Michelin for a while to get the tires in the specific sizes that we needed for the Turnicorn with that technology. So basically what the Track Connect does is it has sensors embedded in each tire that communicate to a receiver that's plugged into the car that then communicates to your phone or tablet, and will basically give you live information and live data to dial in your tire pressures and really optimize the tire wear and the tire performances. Pretty cool technology, like I said. We're pretty excited to see how it actually works and performs and get this car out on the street and the track. A little bit more about these tires. They are the Sport Cup 2, which is found on a lot of the really high-end supercars of today, whether it's the Porsche 918 or any of the new Ferraris. And it's a real good tire for high-performance track use, but also it does its job every day driving to and from work or just spirited street driving. It has the outer tread blocks that are very wide and have a lot of contact patch, which helps with cornering and stability and things like that under high load. And then you have the ribs and the smaller contact patches on the inside of the tire that help with, everyday street driving and traction if you get a little bit of rain, and also steering feel and things like that. So very cool tire, fits the build really, really well. Pretty excited to try this technology once we have this thing all together and see how it all works.
We knew there was going to be some clearance issues with the hood to the intake plenum. The factory E90 M3 that motor came in has kind of a hood bulge in it, and so we knew we needed to make some clearance. Our plan eventually is to actually have a carbon hood temporarily. We just got a hood from a junkyard, seems to fit fine, and that'll get us around for some road testing and tuning and that sort of thing. The car originally came with just halogen, the base model halogen headlights, which maybe at the time they were okay when the car came out in 2001. Compared to modern day stuff, especially if you're driving fast at night, they're just not up to snuff. So we retrofitted the Xenon, genuine BMW by Xenon headlights. We did some very minor modifications. I took the headlights apart and we had the inside chrome parts of the headlight Cerakoted black. It's a really subtle thing, but I think it helps kind of black out the front of the car and give it a little meaner look. We're having the bodywork done at Sublime Restorations. We've been using them for a really long time. We're very confident that they're going to do top level work. They do stuff from Ferrari restorations to M6 GT3 race cars.
Good to see you. Yeah, we're getting ready to take the roof off, put the carbon roof on. Hood is fit and then in primer on the car. Rear lid is on. So we're getting there, we're getting close. When they started this project, they talked to me about different ideas regarding, how we're gonna fit the hood over that motor and what we're gonna do about that. And we went over all the ideas of making an aluminum hood, taking carbon hood and modifying it, making a hood from scratch to figure out the best solution to that problem with still having the car appear relatively stock. We settled on a hood that somebody else was making, and we're kind of modifying it to fit the way we want it to fit, to have that factory appearance.
He's going to fix up some rock chips and stuff along the fenders. Of course, the interior stuff where he's going to do some Alcantara work on the interior.
These are the pieces for the rear seat delete.
They look like BMW made them.
That Kim made up the carbon pieces, so they're light, and we sourced the correct Alcantara for it.
Great.
So it'll match the seats you're putting in the car. It'll look as it should. We make the roofs in-house for this particular car, so we made a roof for this car. And we're putting a CSL lid on it, as well as just doing some general paint work on the car to kind of freshen everything up. We also widened the rear wheel wells to fit the wider wheels and tires to get a little more clearance for suspension travel.
I want it to look like BMW built it, so this is the guy and this is the shop to do that, because I've seen him make fenders out of a piece of aluminum. He's a craftsman, restoration of old cars, but he also makes these kind of cars look perfect, and that's exactly what we wanted. We finally got the car back from Sublime, and I don't mean finally like he took too long, but he did a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff that was done, and it looks amazing. I never would have believed that you could take a car that's kind of this old, and it looks brand new. So he did a fantastic job. The black paint almost looks wet. I'm actually kind of scared to drive it and get some bugs on it because the thing is perfect right now. One of the final things that we had to do is we had to run the car in the dyno in full power mode, right, with the foot to the floor. That was really the chance for us to put everything together and for Brew to actually do a little bit of tuning to make sure that everything was perfect. And we got fantastic results.
So initially, once we got the car running, the engine running, we had to do some break-in with the new motor. With a car like this, the best place to do that sort of break-in is actually on the dyno. That worked out really well. Once the break-in was done, we were able to start doing the full throttle tuning and really see what this motor is capable of. That is pretty exciting stuff. We can now actually get this thing out and drive it hard on the road and see what it can do. So that's pretty exciting. And I can't wait to rev this thing up to 8,400 and see what it feels like.
Are we good? All right, let's go.
Seriously, dude?
Let's go.
You don't need a helmet.
I'm
Come on.
ready.
I'm not driving with you with a helmet on.
Safety first, Will. Safety first.
When's the last time I crashed?
I don't know, like last race weekend, going through the Dunkin' Donuts line.
Good point. Feels good. This is going to be great.
You know, after we take it through the paces on the street, we got to get it to the racetrack because some of the stuff that we did to this car is really going to shine on the racetrack. So we're waiting for the weather to cooperate and we're waiting for the races to kind of settle down until we can get to the track. But my plan is to put this baby on the track and really see what it can do, but also kind of torture it, because if it can survive a track day, then, you know, it can survive anything.